All right, we're tracking several important legal stories this morning. Moments ago, the Supreme Court released its opinion on a case involving the National Rifle Association. The justices are unanimously backing the NRA in this First Amendment ruling.
And meanwhile, former President Donald Trump is seated in a Manhattan courtroom as the judge has just begun rereading portions of the transcript after reviewing portions of his instructions. Deliberations began yesterday. So for more on this decision, let's bring in CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson. And we're also going to talk about the Supreme Court decision. So we have CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford also standing by. But Jessica, I'm going to start with you. Let's start with the criminal trial with former President Trump. What do the instruction portions that the jury is requesting to be reread or did request, what does that tell you about their deliberations?
I know everybody wants me to say, oh, this portion, the fact that they're having this portion reread, it means that the prosecution is about to win. I think this is what we can say so far. They're hearing a chunk of the jury instructions about some important but basic things. If you hear evidence, what kind of inferences can you make? Who has the burden of proof? And then they heard that all important instruction about witness credibility. And the question, of course, is going to Michael Cohen's testimony. And they heard that instruction that says, if you don't find a witness credible, you can disregard all or some of their testimony. Right now, I think there's a possibility that the jury is so aware of the fact that we are having this conversation that they frankly asked for perhaps more of the instructions back than they even needed. But what we see right now is they're taking their job seriously. They ask for specific portions of the instructions. They ask for specific portions of the evidence. They ask for headphones, probably meaning that they want to hear some recordings of conversations. And so all we know right now is they're going to the heart of the prosecution's case and they're taking their job seriously.
All right, Jan, let's turn to the Supreme Court. Break down this decision for us. Tell us the history and what it means.
Well, I mean, Vlad, this is an important decision for actually two reasons. Number one, what it says about the law and the ruling itself and the First Amendment, but also number two, what it says about the Supreme Court. So, all right, let's first talk about the specifics of this decision. Basically, New York financial regulator decided to crack down on the NRA, and she worked with the banks and insurance companies and really kind of allegedly pressured them to end their relationships with the NRA because of the NRA's advocacy, it argued, especially after the Parkland shooting in 2018 where 17 people were killed. So Lloyd's of London and Chubb, they stopped doing business with the NRA, which offers insurance policies to some of its members. I didn't know that until this case, but it does. And so they ended, as a result of this alleged pressure, those policies with the NRA. The NRA said, wait a minute, you know, that's a state official pressuring insurance companies to stop doing business with us. That violates our First Amendment rights, because they're singling us out because of our viewpoint. And the NRA wanted to sue. A lower court, an appeals court, and a New York-based appeals court disagreed with the NRA and said, no, you can't sue, you don't have a claim. And the Supreme Court today unanimously reversed, saying, in a case, by the way, that saw the NRA supported by the ACLU, the Biden administration, saying that the First Amendment prohibits the government from making these kind of decisions based on viewpoints. That's a classic First Amendment free speech case. So now the NRA will get to pursue this lawsuit that it was singled out and essentially punished because of its views. Even if you may completely disagree with its views, they have a right under the First Amendment to express them. Now, why is this case important for a bigger point about the Supreme Court? You know, we focus so much on these controversial, contentious cases where we see the justices deeply divided. A lot of the cases are going to be 6-3, sometimes 5-4. This was a case that was unanimous. It was written by the court's most senior liberal justice. It got all other 8 justices, conservative justices, on board, siding with the NRA. And it shows that this is a court that is still very often, in cases we don't talk about, unanimous. Last term, for example, they were unanimous in nearly half of their cases. So I think it's always an important reminder, because we do tend to focus on the divisions at the court. But when we see these kind of cases, which are more the actual, more run-of-the-mill cases, this is a court that is still functioning and working together and coming together on very important principles in the Constitution.
So, Jessica, Jan, I have to admit that when I read about this case, I was surprised that the Supreme Court even took it up. It seems like really clear cut that you have somebody who is working for and therefore representing a government agency taking steps to limit the expression of, another organization. So, Jessica, I want to ask you, what was the counter argument? Because I actually don't see it.
So the counter argument here is that the government could use its role and say, you know what, if you do business with the NRA, you could risk a reputational injury. And so the counter argument here is that she was just letting these regulated entities know what their potential risks would be as a result of doing business with the NRA. But I think Jan's explanation here of the court's opinion is exactly right. And let's emphasize, one, just because you see NRA as one of the parties doesn't mean you know how this case is going to come out. And two, this is classic First Amendment. One of the first things I tell my students, the government can limit speech, but it can't pick winners and losers. It can't say, I like you, I don't like you, or I like your speech, I don't like your speech. And that's exactly what was happening here.
All right, Jan, what's left on the docket this year? Of course, we're all eyes on that big...
couple of biggies.
A couple of biggies specifically related to Jack Smith and the former president of the United States.
Oh, I mean, let's say what is not left. I mean, everything. I mean, obviously, we've got those two Trump cases, whether or not Trump is immune from prosecution as a result of his alleged efforts to obstruct the 2020 election. And if he's not immune, what can he be charged with? He and several hundred other January 6 defendants were charged with obstruction. Are those charges appropriate? So those are two major cases. We have two huge abortion cases, including one on the availability of the most commonly used method of abortion, the abortion pill and mifepristone. Those cases are outstanding. We have two more gun cases, one that is very important about a federal law and whether or not people who are under domestic violence restraining orders can have a gun. And a lower court said, yeah, that case, I think the court is going to put some important restrictions on efforts to block gun laws. We've got that one still out there. We have a case involving the opioid epidemic. I mean, we could talk for the next 20 minutes. This is a very significant term. This is an unusual term in that we've got, I mean, they always have their biggest cases in June, as you guys know. They save the biggest ones to the end. But this year, we have so many of them, and the stakes are so high. And we haven't even talked about the cases that go to the heart of the structure of our government, the role of federal agencies, the so-called administrative state, hugely important issues that this court still has to decide between now and the end of June or early July.
Jan's going to be spending an awful lot of time running up those beautiful steps before the summer starts almost. Jan and Jessica, thank you so much.